It was the late 1400s. Christopher Columbus had discovered the New World. With this new land, it brought new possibilities.
It had everything they needed so badly that wasn't found in Europe. Land, trees, the prospect of jobs, even gems underground. It had everything.
People flocked to the newly discovered world from anywhere from Spain, England, Portugal, France in hope of religious freedom, wealth, and new life. 1607, Jamestown was founded. It was the start of a country that would populate more than 300 million people and become the world's superpower. At the time, it was a mere colony struggling to survive. It was a dangerous time. Only a small percentage survived the year, but the remaining survivors lived on to witness the rise of the new colonies, which would become the United States. They grew larger in population as jobs flourished. Talk about independence forced the British to tighten their grip on the colonial forces. Founding fathers including Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, and Samuel Adams eventually wrote a document declaring independence, leading to our national war for freedoms, rights, and privileges we take for granted today. The month is December 1776. The Continental Army, after several defeats, has retreated to Pennsylvania. The morale of the army is low. Commander-in-Chief George Washington knows that if he is going to keep his army within fighting size, they're going to need a major win, and fast.
Washington needed a major victory. If he didn't get one, he knew his army would be lost, and the Revolutionary War would be over before it had really begun.
He devises a plan to attack the Hessian garrison. The Hessians were stationed at Trenton, New Jersey. The Hessians were German soldiers hired by the British Empire for the German rulers to profit from their use. Around 30,000 have came to support the American Loyalist cause. The Hessians will fight in almost every battle throughout the Revolutionary War. By the end of the war, 17,000 will return home, almost 5,000 will remain in the United States to start a new life, and 7,500 will die by the end of the war. The American plan was that General John Cadwalader would attack against the British garrison at Bordentown, New Jersey. General James Ewing would take his troops across the Trenton Ferry, seize the bridge over Assunpink Creek to prevent the Hessians from escaping. The main attack would cross the river 9 miles north of Trenton. Before the troops leave, Benjamin Rush, who came to see Washington, sees a written note by Washington saying victory or death. This will become the password for the surprise attack. The troops set out 2 in the afternoon, Christmas Eve, with each person carrying 60 rounds of ammunition and 3 days of rations. They come to the icy shores of the Delaware River, hoping to cross at midnight, but bad weather has delayed their process. The image of Washington and his troops crossing the treacherous river with ice floating by will become one of the most famous pictures of the Revolutionary War. They finish crossing the river at 3 in the morning and don't start marching to 4. They had hoped to create a surprise attack on the Hessians in darkness, but after being delayed by the bad weather, it was now impossible. As they continued marching, several volunteers who knew the terrain well guided them along. The sleet that had fallen has made travel unbearably slow and painful.
Soldiers had very few supplies. Many didn't have shoes, only rags to wrap around their feet. The trail was marked by the bloody trail of the soldiers' feet.
George Washington rode on his horse back and forth among the weary soldiers, keeping them walking forward.
They arrive at the garrison in Trenton. The boom of the Americans' artillery announced their arrival. The army pushes through the streets with heavy fire. Colonel Raw has just awakened from a deep sleep and can be seen upon his horse trying to command his troops. Instead, the troops retreat to hiding places and Raw is shot off his horse. The Americans' troop managed to capture the Hessians' cannons. With no place to escape to, the Hessians surrender. The casualties are relatively low this day. Only 22 Hessians were killed and 2 Americans were. 906 Hessians are captured along with the much-needed supplies. The effects of the battle seems very small, but this battle caused some of the greatest psychological effects of the war. The Continental Army, slowly diminishing in size, suddenly welcomes many new soldiers, anxious to keep on fighting. The Revolutionary War keeps on going, with little chance of American surrender.
Winning this battle proved to many patriots might just have enough power to win against the Loyalists, greatly improving their attitude.
American Revolution is definitely an underdog story. Here, a group of ragtag soldiers fought and won against the world's strongest army.
But what would happen if none of this had ever happened? Washington troops, with not enough soldiers, surrendered to the British at the Battle of Oriskany. The colonies once again go under British rule. Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, and all the signers of the Declaration of Independence are executed for treason against the king. A new prime minister is elected. With his new prime minister, the colonies are allowed to have a say in part of the parliament's actions. The patriots for a while disperse, and for a while conflict settles down in the colonies. However, in 1833, when England abolishes slavery, the colonists rebel against the British Empire. With added strength from the increasing population, the Americas finally win the Second Revolutionary War. Andrew Jackson is elected the first president of the United States. The French still ruled the Louisiana Territory, and the Spanish still owned the western regions. Unable to expand, the United States has little power around the world. The British still remain the world's superpower. Several other countries arise next to the United States: Mexico and another French-speaking country.